All right. Yeah. The most disturbing case I've come across. Chris and I'm guessing that's Shannon. But Channon, I've never seen it spelled like that. CH. But I'm guessing that'd be Channon. Chris and Channon. Well, we'll find out. I guess he's gonna say the names. But yeah. Again, I'm not sure whether both of them were murdered or just I don't know. So yeah, let's go.
I've been doing my channel now for around a year and a half, and since I've began, I've almost become desensitized to this kind of content. But every once in a while, you learn of a case that is so despicable and so disturbing that it shocks you to your core. This
I think that with these, what he just said. Ape Huncho in our country, there's like American ones with all the like drill rappers, and they basically there's YouTube channels dedicated to the most awful crimes, and I think how do these people like that's all their content is crime after crime after crime, and it's like how do you do that and not just do you know what I mean like lose your mind basically like how do you because if I watch too many murder things it may like do you know what I mean it just makes me hate people but so you have to watch something do you know what I mean, a bit lighter, but to just keep your whole content being on gruesome murders, yeah, I suppose, like he said, you just get desensitized to it.
is one of those cases. On the evening of the 6th of January 2007, a young couple planned to go out for dinner together and then attend a friend's party afterwards. The couple's name was Shannon Christian and Christopher Newsom. The two had just recently started dating. Chris was 23 years old and described as an excellent baseball player and an incredibly popular young man who worked as a carpenter. Shannon was 21 years old and was an avid golf player. She was also studying sociology at the University of Tennessee. Shannon went to a friend's apartment to get ready. Chris was running late, and Shannon told her friend to head down to the party without her, and that she would wait for Chris to come get her. At around 8 p.m, her friend made her way down to the party, and Shannon stayed and waited for Chris. But for some reason, they never made it to the party. The young couple's friends became concerned as to why they never arrived, so they began calling and texting them, but they got no response. Concern only grew as more time passed. At around 11 p.m, two of Chris's friends went to the apartment where Shannon was getting ready, and there they found Chris's truck in the parking lot, but they were unable to find Shannon's SUV. Shannon's mother woke up on the 7th of January with worry for her daughter's well-being. She never made it home, and she wasn't answering her calls to her mother either. Then, Shannon's mother got a call that would confirm and intensify her worry. Shannon's best friend had called her and told her that the couple never made it to the party, and that her SUV couldn't be located. Then, only moments later, Shannon's manager made a call to see if she was okay, as she never came into work that day. It was at this moment, fearing the worst, Shannon's mother Dina called 911 to report her daughter and Chris missing. But unfortunately, the authorities were unable to act until 24 hours had passed, because both Chris and Channon were adults.
Yeah.
Her parents anxiously waited for a call from their daughter. That never came. Because the police were unable to...
You think that's kind of mad? No, I know that because they can't just jump on every kind of person who rings up and says someone's missing because people do just disappear for a bit and then pop up. So you can understand the police doing that, but that is a crucial time period, that 24 hours. So it is a kind of, do you know what I mean? If the police jumped on every, because people get reported missing, like It's something like in our country, something like every 7 minutes. I think a kid gets reported missing. That's not including even people. So, do you know what I mean? People get reported a lot, but you think that 24 hours they could, if they're in a situation, they could still be alive within that 24 hours. But yeah, that's a crucial time.
They took matters into their own hands. They asked for some help from Shannon's mobile phone provider, who were able to inform them that her phone had pinged at a Cherry Street phone tower. Cherry Street is a high crime neighbourhood in the city, a neighbourhood that was described as an area you don't go into unless you live there or you're up to no good.
If you ain't from here,
The
don't come
family
here.
and friends of the couple searched the Cherry Street area, where they found Shannon's abandoned Toyota 4Runner. Although, they noticed some strange things. Channon was known to take very good care of her SUV, but the floor was covered in mud. And not only that, but the seat was pushed all the way back, to a point where Channon wouldn't have been able to reach the pedals. Channon also kept photographs of her loved ones in the SUV, but all of these photographs were missing, along with a missing iPad and a teddy bear. A packet of cigarettes were found, despite the fact that neither of the couple smoked. The police managed to find fingerprint evidence, which would lead them to the address 2316 Chipman Street. This address was only 2 blocks away from where Shannon's car was found. The investigators identified the prints as belonging to a man named Lamarcus Davidson, a known carjacker. The case's dark and disturbing reality was about to come to light. Chris's body was found near some railway tracks by a railroad employee on the 7th of January. A comforter had been wrapped around his body, and a sweatshirt was wrapped around his head. He was gagged with his own socks, and his ankles were bound with his own belt, and his hands were secured behind his back. His bare and muddy feet indicated that somebody had made him walk without any shoes on to the area where he was to be killed. He had multiple gunshot wounds that was consistent with an execution-style killing, and he had been doused in gasoline and set on fire. Semen was also found inside of Chris, but the DNA had been destroyed by the fire. Now let's rewind and go back to when Shannon's friend left the apartment complex. Chris was indeed on his way.
I've got to say, Americans, I know we have it in our prison too, but you lot are really, like, your criminals are really randy when it comes to the bombing side of it. Like, do you know what I mean? In our country's just not like that. I mean, unless like someone's doing life in prison or whatever, but even then, like, yeah.
And he did actually manage to arrive to the apartment where Channon was waiting for him. Both he and Channon were spending some time together alone before heading down to the party. They stood talking outside of the driver's side of the SUV, holding each other and kissing in the car park. Although they were totally unaware that they were being watched by a gang of carjackers. In the blink of an eye, the young couple had guns pointed at their heads. The gang had, of course, come for the car, when all of a sudden, a set of headlights came through the apartment parking lot. The gang of carjackers panicked, and with the guns still pointed at their heads, they shoved the young couple in the SUV and drove away. The couple, still held at gunpoint, are taken to the house on Chipman Street, just near a waste management and recycling plant. The 5 people who were involved in this crime was George Giovanni Thomas, Letelvis Darnell Cobbins, Lamarcus Davidson, Vanessa Lynn Coleman, and Eric Boyd. Lamarcus Davidson was fresh out of prison and was on parole for previous carjackings, and the other people I mentioned above were staying with him in his house. The 5 of them were described as unstable and were known to cause trouble. Lamaricus was poor and, frustrated at his lack of money, decided that he is going to steal a car. So that was it. They set off into the night, and that's when they came across Chris and Channon. Chris would be murdered first. He was raped and seriously beaten, and they did all of this in front of Channon too, and made her watch. After this, they led Chris to the railroad tracks. This is where they would take his life. Davidson encourages Thomas to kill Chris, so he fires a bullet into the neck and then in the back.
I'm not being funny, yeah. I mean, no disrespect to this boy at all, because you're in a situation that you. But I'm telling you now, you ain't raping me and then making me walk nowhere. Do you know what I mean? I'm either gonna be dead before you do that, or do you know what I mean? You're gonna be dead the second you stop. If you just get overpowered, then that's one thing. Do you know what I mean? But I ain't walking nowhere. It's going down. Then, do you know what I mean? Like I would commit myself that I'm gonna lose my life in that second, because I just would not have that. Because as well, it was a dominance thing, clearly in front of his girlfriend as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it, that's double disturbing, because it's you like literally emasculated him in front of the girl he loved before you took his life. Like you took everything, because to a man, is that masculinity and that kind of thing is very, very important. And not only did you take his life, you took that. It's basically dignity before. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes you need to just realize where a situation's going and bite the bullet. Even though I will say you can never understand how you're going to react unless you're in that situation. Some people freeze, some people, do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's gonna have to be a situation if you want to do that to me. Like I say, either before, after, at some point, I'm gonna do something to you, and then you can all shoot me. But one of you's losing an eye or getting his throat bit out or something. Do you know what I mean? In fact, I wouldn't have even got in the car in the first place. Like, if once they saw him and they panicked, I'd have just been like, "Fuck you, shoot me." Do you know what I mean? I ain't getting in that car. Take the car. I'll grab her and be like, "Go on, shoot me." Yeah, to me, like I'd have chose. They killed him anyway. Do you know what I mean? He should have just, of everything he could muster, punch one of them in the throat or something. Do you know what I mean? And then they can kill you. Like, but yeah, and once I'm dead, you could do whatever you want with me. Do you know what I mean?
Chris was very much still alive at this point, and he was paralysed laying on the ground. Prolonging the suffering, they left him for a moment, until Davidson then shoots Chris in the head, execution style. The absolute brutality of this killing is enough to cause some serious disgust and rage. But the gang were not done yet. Far from it. In an attempt to hide potential evidence, they wrapped his body in the comforter, and that's when they doused his body with gasoline and set him alight. While Davidson and Thomas were on the tracks with Chris, Channon was left with Vanessa Coleman. When they came back from the railroad, they set upon her. They tied her up and savagely beat and raped her too. and the gang mutilated both Chris and Channon's bodies while they were still alive. The full details are just too graphic to share, but with a quick Google search, you'll be able to find out exactly what happened to them in full detail and the severity of their injuries. But if I'm honest, you need a strong stomach for that. The attackers then told her that if she was to comply, they would let her go. Vanessa was the only female complicit in this crime, was fully aware of what was happening to Channon during the 24-hour torture of her. She did nothing and made no attempt to help her, apart from occasionally bring her water. She had many chances to help, as the two women were alone in the house together on multiple occasions. Channon was then strangled and beaten until she was no longer conscious, though still very much alive. They then tied her up in a fetal position. Davidson, in an attempt to destroy his DNA, poured bleach down her throat and inside her body. She was then wrapped in 5 bin bags, and a white shopping bag was placed over her head. They then stuffed her into a trash can. Channon slowly suffocated to death. Her eyes were open when she died, and her body would soon be found. To pick up where we left off before, the police managed to find DNA on an envelope in Channon's car, so the police made their way to 2316 Chipman Street on January the 9th. When they arrived, they found...
See, and if the police would have acted when they first initially got the call, that's what I was saying. They kept her alive for 24 hours. They could have at least stopped some of it.
House unoccupied. As they looked around the house, they found Shannon's body in the trash can in the kitchen. The 5 large trash bags which Davidson had wrapped her in had his prints all over them, along with his sperm too. All of her possessions that were missing from her car was found in their house too. Davidson's sperm was found on Shannon's jeans, and Cobbin's sperm was found on her jeans and sweater too. The police also found bullet casings that matched the bullets that were used to kill Chris. On the 11th of January, the 5 of them were arrested and charged with the murders of Chris and Channon. Eric Boyd and Vanessa were charged as accessories to the crime, but Coleman was arrested for murder. After the arrests, a journal was found, which said, "Last night was one of a kind. We stayed with a crackhead that is cool as hell. It snowed a little bit, but it's already melted. Let's talk about adventures. I had one hell of an adventure since I've been in on the big TN. It's a crazy world these days, but I love the fun adventures and the lessons I've learned. It's going to be a long, interesting year." The writing in the journal matched the handwriting of Vanessa Coleman. Eric Boyd was found guilty of being an accessory to a fatal carjacking. He is the only suspect not to be charged with murder, and he was sentenced to a maximum of 18 years in a federal prison. LaTalvis Cobbins was found guilty of the murders and was sentenced to life without parole. Lamarcus Davidson was found guilty. The jury decided that he should receive the death penalty, and the judge said the crime was one of the most incredibly outrageous, cruel and inhumane cases he had ever seen. He also said how people can engage in this type of conduct is just unexplainable, and that there is no sentence great enough to punish you for the conduct you have been convicted of. The Supreme Court sentenced him to death in 2016. George Thomas was found guilty on multiple accounts and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Vanessa Coleman was acquitted of first-degree murder, but found guilty on lesser charges, and she was sentenced to 53 years in prison. The waste management company that was located near where the young couple were tortured bought the property, demolished it, and turned it into a memorial in their honor. So I guess what you're left wondering is, why did they do this? What motivated them to take the lives of this young couple, and to do it so brutally? Well, some believe it was a racially motivated crime, since the victims were white and the killers black, and that they harbored animosity towards whites and lashed out. Others believe that it started as a carjacking, and it
The
simply
truth of the
got
matter is, yeah, no matter what the motive, if it was a white group that had done that to a black couple, it would 100% be racial. And that story would be known and their names would be known. But because it's a white couple killed by a black, which happens far more than the other way around, you don't know. And then, yeah, it's not racial. And they can't help it because they come from. But not being funny, in our country, all them men would be dead. Well, in fact, in our country, or they'd all get put into protective custody because they'd be dead. Like, and not for the only reason that you just don't, you can't go to prison in this country for child abuse or women abuse and just have a regular time. Do you know what I mean? It ain't gonna happen like that. If people know, which they're gonna know, you're dead. Do you know what I mean? The screws would even set it up.
away with the thrill of torture and murder, and the feeling of power that they would have had by doing this to them.
But that's what I mean personally. Do you know what I mean? I would have seen where that was going and took that power away. And there's only one way you can take that power away, and that's to basically make them kill you. But like I say, I wouldn't have got in the car. I thought that straight away when they said that. When someone pulled into the car, into the thing, I wouldn't have got in there. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, one of them's getting punched in the throat. You can shoot the shit out of me afterwards, but I'm going to punch one of you in the throat and that person's going to die unless you get them to a hospital. And you ain't going to get them to a hospital if you just took me out to the middle of nowhere. I would get straight out of that car, bang one of them in the throat, and then, yeah, let them kill me. But then, yeah, if you're just like I say, sometimes you've just got to face the outcome and take away as much of their power as you can. But yeah, like I say, in this country, if they went to prison, well, they would be put in protective custody 100% because once word went round, do you know what I mean? You're going to get got at some point. People just, it's unacceptable. Do you know what I mean? Convicted murderers, like criminal minded murderers, don't agree with that. And you're in there with all of them, especially for a crime like that. You're going to go in there with the worst of the worst criminals. But even the worst of the worst criminals, do you know what I mean? There's no honor in that. Like, but yeah, yeah, crazy. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. That's the reaction. Sweet.